The Living Wax, from the Doctor Who special 1977. Peering from the entrance of his unique police box spacecraft, Doctor Who muttered, "Extraordinary. We appear to have landed in some sort of building." "But not your cottage in 20th century England, Doctor?" asked a second voice. "Don't tell me you set the TARDIS time coordinates wrongly." "It's a very fine balance, Leela," the Doctor answered almost irritably. "I think this is Earth, but I fear we're a few miles and years off beam." Try as he might, the Doctor had not yet convinced Leela, his warrior girl companion, that the TARDIS controls were extremely complicated. Even in the hands of a Time Lord like himself, mistakes could be made. Curling his long scarf around him, the Doctor stepped onto the cold stone floor beyond his time box. Leela followed. More cautious, her eyes watched for any sudden movement. One hand rested on the handle of the knife she always wore at her hip. For an alien planet and a primitive existence, Leela was always ready for danger. "It's jolly quiet," the Doctor heard his words echo. "Could be a museum?" "I sense evil," Leela whispered beside him. Shadows took strange shapes as they neared a wooden door. "Nonsense, girl. We don't want any of your superstitious mumbo-jumbo. You can always wait in the TARDIS." Hinges, long since oiled, groaned as the Doctor swung open the door. Cobwebs like cotton wool hung from the ceiling. Hardly house-proud whoever owns this place. There's dust everywhere." "Beware!" With surprising strength, Leela pulled the Doctor by his arm. Dagger already drawn, Leela was poised, cat-like, ready to spring. A series of strange, silent figures stood before them. "Waxworks. Just models, Leela, though I agree some do look rather menacing." Urging Leela to follow, Doctor Who strolled boldly towards the nearest. The lifelike form, brandishing a large axe, stared blankly from eye slits in a black mask that covered much of its face. "An early executioner," the Doctor enlightened Leela. He tapped the wax model squarely on the forehead to prove it was harmless. "See, my girl? Nothing to worry your pretty head about." Leela moved from one figure to another. There were caped figures, some with hoods, and to Leela's dismay, many brandished a club, pistol, sword, or knife. "Must be closed down," Doctor Who's voice came as a comfort in the gloom. "But I've solved one problem," he added, looking through the leaded window which he had rubbed with the end of his scarf. "Victorian England. Gas lamps, hansom cabs. I can even see a policeman out there." Turning abruptly, the Doctor strode towards the same door through which they had entered. "Fascinating," Leela heard him say as she moved briskly after him. She was only too pleased to leave behind those eerie, sinister forms. She did not dare tell the Doctor she was certain the wax models watched them. Damp, thick fog hung low, shrouding much of the building which stood behind them. "It's hardly in better repair on the outside." Doctor Who looked up at the crumbling brickwork. They had found and unbolted a small door which led them to the overgrown grounds. "Come along, let's look around." "Why are you feeling too nervous?" The Doctor grinned, walking towards the darkened street. Leela felt anger. It was the second time Doctor Who had questioned her courage. Suddenly a movement beside her. A figure filled the doorway from which they had stepped only moments before. This time Leela leapt, felling the Doctor by grasping his legs. Something metallic struck the rusted railings above them. There was the clatter of swift footsteps, then the figure disappeared. As he ran, they saw his cloak billowing before the fog swallowed all trace. "It seems I owe you my thanks, Leela," said Doctor Who, already reaching for a small object that had caused the noise. "A stiletto meant for me," said the Doctor, testing the razor-sharp blade. "Probably intended to rob me." Leela's eyes blazed. "But he threw the knife first. He came from the museum. And there's something else." The tone of her voice made the Doctor listen more intently. "It was one of the wax models, I swear it." "Best not to hang round here, sir." The policeman nodded, quietly observing the Doctor's slightly unusual appearance. "4 murders in the past fortnight, and several homes and premises robbed. Doctor Who concealed the stiletto in his pocket. Leela wore his long coat round her shoulders. It would void unnecessary explanation. "We're new to the district. The waxworks caught our attention." A faded sign announced the entrance, but over the peeling paint was the word "closed." "Sinister place," the broad, stocky policeman said. He rubbed his moustache thoughtfully. "It was taken over a year ago, then closed down. Good job, too. Folk ain't safe to walk around here after dark." "Then we'll take your advice, Constable," the doctor replied. Turning to Leela, he said, "We'll find a cab, my dear. This is no place for a lady." The shrill, piercing whistle carried clearly through the fog. It was closely followed by a man's voice. "Help! Murder! Robbery!" Leela and the doctor were quick to follow the policeman in the direction of the cry. "You'll be all right. Look, he's coming round." The constable, still breathing heavily, inspected the figure lying on the cobbled street. Another policeman was already taking details from a visibly shaken shopkeeper. "That's my boy. We was up late taking stock. Otherwise we wouldn't have seen him. My son tried to stop him, figure with a cloak. Really vicious." Doctor Who stepped over broken glass and looked into the shattered window of the store. "What did he take? There's still a lot here." All sorts of valuable bric-a-brac lay where it had fallen. The shopkeeper, turning to the stranger, cupped his hands and answered, "Gold, anything gold. It's the second time in a month. The culprit has a lust for gold." "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Doctor Who paused from digging deeply into the large old chest near to the TARDIS. "I am a warrior," Leela replied simply. Though she would never admit it, she had felt cold fear at returning to the museum. She had hoped the doctor intended to take off into space immediately. "This should do." He looked up, holding a long dress. "It's about your size." While Leela slipped it on, Doctor Who fetched a small torch-like object from the TARDIS. "You look quite ladylike," he approved upon his return. "There is evil here," Leela whispered as they moved furtively towards the gallery of wax figures. The doctor did not answer immediately. He was assessing the strange events of the past hour. The wax figure coming to life to attack him? It seemed incredible. Was it also the thief who had taken the gold objects from the shop? A vague warning registered in the back of the doctor's mind. There was something familiar about all this, but he couldn't quite remember. "Still here," the doctor said, tapping the axeman once more on the nose. "There, the cloaked figure. He is also as we left him, but he could have returned ahead of us," Leela exclaimed. "He's wax, all right. Just like the others," Doctor Who said, closely inspecting the model. "Perhaps I was mistaken," Leela answered as she stepped up among the figures. Doctor Who's hand touched the edge of the stiletto in his pocket. He dared not ask Leela whether the cloaked figure had originally held a knife. "Remain as still as possible," he said. "If anyone is using the waxworks as a thief's hideout, the last place they'll expect to see you is here." Elegant in the dress the doctor had found for her, Leela nodded and took a deep breath. "I will remember not to move unless I see something, Doctor." "I'll take a look around, Leela. Shout if you need me," the doctor said.
"The Time Lord lives. We must destroy him. He is a threat. I sense this."
The words were spoken only in the mind of the scaled figure in the museum basement. One of 3 claw-like fingers touched a button on the console of a small, complex circuit of wires and throbbing lights. Connected to this was a large urn, full of golden objects, watches, coins, ornaments. Already incredible heat was melting them into liquid metal.
"Soon power we draw from the gold will bring more of our kind to Earth. We will conquer and rule. Only the Time Lord can stop us."
Beads of perspiration trickled down Leela's forehead. It was not warm, but already she suspected she had seen one of the figures move nearby. If only she could be certain. But she did not want to alert the doctor until something positive happened. It did! A hand closed over Leela's mouth from behind her. Her scream was muted. Even her skills in unarmed combat were useless, held as she was in such an iron grip. Then the cloaked figure stepped once more off his pedestal. It waved an arm and Leela felt herself pushed forward. 2 more waxen forms suddenly turned. She had been right, awfully right. Now she was trapped. Senses reeling, life ebbed from her body. As unconsciousness greeted her, strong arms carried her into the basement. "Leela? Jupiter, she's gone!" The fine beam of light, the pencil-shaped object the doctor held, indicated the worst. Then it revealed the other missing figures. Doctor Who felt an icy finger crawl up his spine. He had searched several anterooms and found nothing more than cobwebs. Leela had found more awaiting her curiosity. The light beam showed footprints leading to a trapdoor in the dusty floor. Raising the small metal loop, the doctor pulled back the flap and moved towards the steps below.
"We await your master. The channel from our planet to Earth is open,"
the 3-fingered alien spoke in a shrill voice, addressing a large shining disk. On its surface, a mesh of glittering lights took form. The appearance was staggering.
"He comes at last! Energy from the gold metal feeds the channel."
4 wax figures stood in a semicircle. Before the strange apparatus, they removed their skin-tight face masks to reveal their true appearance. Doctor Who gasped. "Linktons," he murmured. "Aliens from Linktos, a planet in another galaxy. Beings capable of teleporting themselves through space." From his position at the bottom of the ladder, he could see Leela. Conscious now, she stood closely watched by the beaked Linktons. On the glowing disk, a face began to form. Even as it did, it seemed to project forwards to become something solid. "Almost like a lion's head," the doctor considered. A grimmer thought occurred to him. "It is their chosen one. Should he arrive on Earth, he cannot be destroyed. I must act now." Searing light intensified to appear like a super-strong laser. The doctor aimed the torch object he had brought from the TARDIS. "Back, Master of Evil!" the doctor shouted as the Linktons turned. "Not even you can withstand a full blast of gamma energy. At least I hope," he added as the ray became even stronger. It concentrated on the body forming beneath the lion-like head.
"The Time Lord! Destroy him!"
But seeing her chance, Leela acted a split second faster than the aliens. But a karate blow made her stagger as she lunged with a lightning kick towards a second attacker. The doctor momentarily turned the beam towards the nearest alien. There was a brilliant flash. Next moment, only a pool of melted wax trickled across the floor. "The apparatus, Leela! Break the circuit before it's too late!" The doctor remembered the stiletto in his pocket. He withdrew it and slid the slim, pointed knife across the floor. Leela snatched it and understood. Beyond, the gold lion form, with a huge golden mane, roared deafeningly, "No! I am nearly reshaped! Oh!" There was a loud cry. Leela had plunged the knife into the very centre of the weird complex of wires and lights. The keen blade severed vital connections. Sparks gave warning of a bigger explosion. The Linktons staggered back. Leela leaped clear, and the doctor at last stopped the gamma ray that had blocked the channel. The master of the Linktons became a blurred outline again. Only the fearsome's head with gaping jaws remained. "It's really blowing! Get back, Leela!" Hardly had the doctor spoken than smoke and flame belched from the apparatus. The metal disc crashed to the floor, and the Linktons each glowed, dulled, then disappeared. As flames licked at the walls and ceiling, Doctor Who stepped over the hot wax underfoot. He picked up the lion-like face, all that was left of the alien master. "Just wax, too. It'll melt like the others. The Linkton's body makeup is mainly wax. Let's get out of here, Leela." A sound like rushing wind, shunting steam, and the TARDIS activated. As its outline became a ghostly blur, a second explosion within the museum was seen from outside. A policeman called for help, but the building and all within it could not be saved. The wax and gold were the clues, the Doctor spoke, resting within the time box as it wended its way through space. The Lingtons had created a power beam which could carry more of them to Earth. It was nearly completed. But never will be, thanks to you, Doctor, Leela smiled. You played no small part in the matter, Leela. But I suppose you ought to change out of that dress now, he added with a smile on his face. The Doctor turned, resetting the TARDIS's time coordinates. For a warrior girl from a primitive tribe millions of light years from Earth, your appearance was rather splendid, he grinned without looking round.